Well, the whole idea here was, of course, to take the Stratocaster made by Fender and change the name a bit into Stotecaster, Trotec, Stratec. So I think you get my drift. I looked around a little bit in the internet looking for the type of font which they use, which I'm not going to copy exactly, of course. And of course, guitar shapes, which were crucial for this project because it's rocks on the roll, you know, if you're going to have a drink and it's on the rocks. Anyway, I traced the shape first of all, drew it in, and the neck as well, so I have an outline of walls which I can have on the inside so that I can stick the outer walls to it. And then after that, I also drew an outer line which is a little bit wider than the inner rib cage, if you like, and put in some engravings as well for the top, just to set it off, you know, the strings and the neck, what do you call them, I think frets, I think, and things like that. I wasn't very happy with the font, and so I looked around for a font, and I managed to find one called Martina, and adjusted the size, and then I was good to go for that too. So the inner support wall is not going to be seen anywhere, and it's just sort of helping me to stick the outer wall on, so it's just an outline more or less, and giving the whole body, the whole resonance chamber a shape. I just took some old plywood. It doesn't matter really what you take for that. After setting up the Speed 100 to the right settings for plywood, I sent the file to the laser cutter, cut it all out here, sped up a little bit so as not to bore you, and then I had my inner rib cage and the neck parts as well. So when they were done, then I went on and decided to take some Trotec material, oak in 5mm, to make the actual base of the whole guitar. And so I took the outline which I'd already drawn out and sent it to the laser as well for cutting. I did tweak around a little bit with the font, the size, and also the text which I'm putting there, which is hitting the right note since 1997, which is more or less just hinting towards the actual date, I think, when Trotec was founded. And so after finding the right size and the right font and placing them where I would like, I mean, you can do it however you like, of course with my logo too, then I sent the file to the laser for engraving and for cutting too. Then something upsetting happened. I realized that I had forgot to write since right there. So I placed the laser on the spot where I would like it, and then of course went back to CorelDRAW and wrote one more file called since, of course, and patched that in there. I gave everything a good rub down with spirit to get rid of all the secreted resin that comes out, of course, when it's heated, in this case lasered. Better safe than sorry, of course, so I decided just to check the 3 holes for size. Depending on what type of bottle you find and which glasses you take, of course, just adjust those holes to the required size too. Right, so in order to make the actual resonance chamber, which has got a lot of beautiful curves, I am taking oak 5mm from Trotec once again. And so it's a darker wood which will give it more of a contrast against the oak, which is the top and the bottom of the guitar. And I will show you now the files which I made so that I can curve around the whole guitarist's corpus. These curve strips are all going to be made out of 5mm walnut, all 4 centimeters high, and it was a lot of copy and paste, really a lot of copy and paste to get all these lines right. They're basically just parallel to each other, but never actually meeting, and that's how you make these curved sides. As soon as they were finished, of course, then I gave them a good rub down with spirit as well to get rid of the stickiness from the secrete. I then marked and measured exactly where I want these curvy bend parts to meet, which is right down at the bottom of the guitar, because of course they are all adapted to the 60 centimeters width, or length actually, of the panels from Trotec, so I couldn't cut them longer, seeing as the panels are only 60 centimeters. So I want them to meet somewhere without you being able to see the seam afterwards. Now at this point you can actually see where the inner wall comes in very, very handy as an orientation where to stick the outer curved parts. And so it was just a matter of getting glue in the right place and sticking them all on. At this point I decided to put some glue on the inside where you can't see it anyway, and of course used tape, and later on we'll use clamps to keep it all down until it's actually dried off. As mentioned, then I clamped everything down to keep it in place while it's drying off and while I'm making the other parts. All these decorative parts which are going to be on top of the guitar to highlight it, of course they are made out of the leftovers from the bendy strips, which was 5mm walnut, because it's darker and it'll give it more of a contrast against the oak panel on top. Except for a couple of elements. I think it's the fret wire, I don't know what you call it, it's some guitar part. So correct me, all the guitarists out there. Well, where the guitar strings actually bend and go to the tightening knobs. I will be painting that black, and also painting the ring of the resonance hole also black, and I'll be highlighting the lines with the marker as well, so that we have dark wood, light wood and black elements. Once again, of course, I gave everything a good scrub down to get rid of all the stickiness which comes out of the wood once it's being lasered. That was really a lot of fidgety work because some of the parts are really, really tiny. It's not really important what type of paint I take there. I found dark grey or anthracite, if you like, and I just spray painted the parts which I want to be darker, and they will sort of highlight certain parts of the top of the guitar later on when I inlay them or stick them on. The next step was, after I had finished the resonance box more or less, to make the neck sections, which I drew and sent to the laser. I made a couple of openings in them as well, as you can see in the middle, where I'm going to stick on some musical notes and accords, and that'll give it more of a sort of a line. I mean, musical notes are always written on lines, so I just went with one open line, and it's dark inside the neck anyway, so you'll have that black contrast. I stuck them all on and glued, and then clamped them into place and waited for them to dry. Then the time had come that I actually wet all pieces together, and so I applied glue to the brim of the frame, and then stuck the top panel on top of it, while doing my best, of course, to get them properly centered. A very fidgety part came up then, sticking all the little pieces, putting them all in the right place. First of all, making out what is excess, which I can throw it away, and which parts are, as you can see in the left hand corner, you know, really parts which I'm going to stick on. So anyway, put them all in place and stuck them. For this I just use instant glue because it's I didn't want any of it seeping through the edges, or which I would have to wipe off and which would ruin the top surface, so I just took instant glue for this. To highlight the top, I decided to make some little panels which are going to be stuck on a real guitar. They're usually made out of plastic, or they are engraved actually sometimes. Thank you very much to Laser Dave for his tips and showing us all how we can do that with power clips and you know, making these embedded engravements as well. So I used that technique by watching his videos also, and it worked out pretty well, and it sort of highlights the top of the guitar as well. I made 3 or 4 different panels which are stuck and adapted to the spaces left over at the bottom and at the top of the guitar front. If you're interested how this technique, how this method works, then please head on to YouTube and check out Laser Dave for embedded engravements. Once I had finished drawing them, then I sent the files to a 5mm walnut piece of wood which was left over from the other deco parts which I made for the top. Of course, seeing as there are a lot of vectors and a lot of elements to this type of engraving, it does take some time, but the effect afterwards is really flabbergasting. You really like it. Of course, once again, it was crucial that I give it a good scrub because all these little diamond shapes inside there, the resin which seeps out does tend to make it very sticky. Once again, for sticking these panels on, I took normal instant glue instead of Elmer's or wood glue. Here you can see the fine structure. If I can get the camera in focus, that's better. Yeah, and so it really has a rough edge to it, but you still see the diamonds. I could have made them a little bit bigger. Next time I probably will, but it worked very well actually. There you have a nice view of my noggin. Yeah, I don't know how that got in, but anyway, that's what it looks like when I don't have my cap on. No, my cap is not stuck to my head with instant glue, as some people think. Even though I have taken a shower with it once. Yeah, I forgot to take it off. I'm so used to having it on all the time. Actually, I'm so used to having it on that if I walk by a mirror and I see myself in the mirror without my cap, then I'm actually startled and I think, who the hell's that? Yeah. Well, then after lasering and cutting out the other 2 panels and sticking them on, then I was actually finished. Of course, I gave them a scrub down as well before I stuck them on. And they really do set off the front of the guitar. To highlight the top and the side of the neck, I decided to put some cut-out notes and accords on there as well. So I cut them all out. I can't read notes, but so I can't tell you what tune is being played. But they look good once they are stuck onto the guitar strings between the resonance chamber and where the guitar strings would be stuck at the bottom. And so that sort of sets them off a bit. So once they were all stuck down, then the guitar itself was actually ready. So I'll go on to finish the glasses and the bottle, but what I did want to do is so that we don't scratch any table surface. I mean, here I'm working on a workbench, so it doesn't really matter, but when I put it on the dining table or on somebody's coffee table or something like that, then we don't want to scratch the surface. So I took these felt pads, they're sticky back, and just put a few of them on the back of it so it softly hits the table whenever I actually place it on the table. So that worked out good as well. This is what the caps and the bottle tops are going to look like. Of course, they've got my logo on them. I took my dagger logo instead of my sword logo. And these little note type sort of, well, little L shapes, which you can see. You'll see furthermore what they are actually for, because they actually fit into a decoration, sort of a collar which I made for the bottle. And so that worked out well, even though they were tiny, whiny little pieces, and it was a hell of a job to get them out of the laser again and clean them all, of course, before sticking them on. But it worked out in the end, as it always does. I realized when I was taking them out that I'm probably going to lose the notes inside the laser, and I would have to take the whole bed out to get them. So I used some masking tape, just put it on, and so that kept them in place while I was taking the whole sheet out of the laser, and so that worked out as well. And then I just pressed them out with my cutter knife. Now I call it a cutter knife as well. I've been in Germany too long. It's actually a Stanley knife, even though it's not a Stanley knife because it's not made by Stanley. Cardboard cutter probably, but you can cut other things with it. That knife, let's just call it that scalpel or that knife or whatever it is. I made some cutouts in some leftover plywood as well, so that I can place the glasses on there to engrave my logos and keep them in the same place. And I did the same thing for the bottle as well. Because I don't have a rotary, but actually I do have a rotary. It's a self-made rotary. I will show you it in a further video later on. Anybody can build it. I will show the plans as well, and all the material that you will need to do it. And you don't even need your extra motor for it. You don't need the stepper motor. It actually works without it. How that is done, you will see in a separate video. Oh, this part was really cumbersome. I don't want to do that again. I stuck my fingers together and they're just so small and fidgety, but sticking them all on was essential, of course, for the design, to make the color so that it rests on the top of the bottle, just above or just below the bottleneck. But I got more glue on my fingers than on those little parts, so next time probably I would take wood glue. But as usual, like I always say, it always works out in the end. Yep. So I just cleaned it off afterwards and it worked pretty well. Alright guys, that was pretty much it. After everything had dried, then the Stotecaster was ready, the Stotecaster. So it's a nice gift to give away, of course, but you can keep it yourself. It's a nice decoration. I don't drink alcohol, so I will just put apple juice inside it when I want to show it off, or when I make the film, which you will see as well. Which you actually have already seen, because I did already publish that film. You can adapt the sizes of the resonance chamber and the other two holes if you have wider or smaller bottles and glasses, of course, but otherwise all the files will be made available at troteclaser.com and at my website. All will be blended in here on screen and down in the description below. Do tune in next time when I will show you how I made a rotary for the laser without using a stepper motor. Hasn't been done before, so I'm sure you'll like that as well. If you have a laser, then you can do that as well. Thanks for tuning in. Do like, subscribe and share. And now for some glossy footage. See you then. Bye-bye.
Alive, let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, might break a backbone. Return of the Mac, the king is back though. Corvette and cash, I never like those. She saw the stone, you know how that go. Fatality, my diamonds that cold. Versace trunks, I hit my backstroke. Knock on the door, she at the back, bro. All I really take is a little taste. Island girl, blue eyes with a little bass. Here for the thrill, I don't need a chaser. Wanna vibe at the getaway. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, I got the semi-four weight. Don't step out the line like this a probate. You hit the line and try to locate. This for the time, got time for no day. One, too many, I'm going. Too crazy and I got bad ones and they ready. A good time, so now it's into it, we left that. Can't remember anything, but I know we got lit. Good times, live in the moment, feel like summertime. Obsessed with nature, not a world mine. The room is spinning, but I feel fine. Oh my. Chandelier, limousines. Really think I'm seeing things. Read the line in mid-between. Yellow light, I gotta speed up. Get home to a cold shower. Need that pronto. Look like a rave at the condo. Heck of a night in Toronto. She said, boy, you in Morocco. Pearl white mention in the top gold. Fill up my cup with the pop, whoa. High off life in the spot, though. Running up the visa, really talking to a real life Mona Lisa. Jesus pieces hanging off the fleecer. So much going on, it's hard to focus on the features. I got too many, I'm going. Too crazy and I got bad ones and they ready. A good time, so now it's in the